format will be we're going to do our top 10 most interesting teams going into the playoffs. So to start it off, I think the most interesting team, I guess the first couple shouldn't be too much of a surprise, but I think it's definitely the Lakers. Now, they've been out of the playoffs for 6 seasons. Last year, LeBron James joined them. They still missed it. This year, they finally get Davis. So the big question is like, are they going to take the Lakers back to the promised land? And for years we saw with LeBron James, we saw people say, well, the East is easy. That's why he got to all these finals. It was an easy path every time. He had to beat the Atlanta Hawks and the Raptors, whatever. And now LeBron's in the West. They locked up the 1 seed. And if you look at these potential matchups that they're going to have of 4 rounds, like if they make it to the finals, the Lakers are going through a gauntlet, dude. Like first round, you got Damian Lillard and Blazers. They're one of the hottest teams in the NBA right now. They just got the 8th seed, obviously, in that incredible game versus Memphis. And Damian Lillard is, he's shooting lights out right now. He just dropped 50 and 60 and 40, whatever. He's playing incredible. And that team is way more talented than a normal 8 seed, in my opinion. I think it goes without saying. Then if they win that round, they're probably going to have to play against 2 former MVPs, James Harden and Russell Westbrook. And that team is a very volatile team. Like they could be really bad, but I think on some nights they could also be really good. And there's some upset potential there. We're going to talk later about James Harden. He hasn't had any huge playoff moments yet. Then, of course, Kawhi, Paul George versus the Clippers. If they make it to the conference finals, that's the likely matchup. And there's nothing more to say about that. We've covered those matchups multiple times on this show. But playing against Kawhi and Paul George, 2 of the best defenders in the league, and guys that LeBron's gone head-to-head with in the playoffs before, that's a tough game too.
Yeah, I mean, just in those teams that you mentioned, I can like kind of say there's about 5 MVP-ish candidates, right? Dame's definitely MVP caliber. He's never been there. But
well, this season at least he is.
Yeah, he's like he could say a top 5, top 3 NBA MVP type of guy. Then in the next series, Westbrook and Harden are both MVP guys. And I mean, they actually both have MVPs.
Yeah.
And then the next series, it's a Finals MVP, 2-time Finals MVP in Kawhi, who's definitely capable of winning an MVP, and Paul George, who last season in 2019 was the top 3. He finished top 3 in MVP voting. So you just look there in that Western Conference, like that's definitely better than any year LeBron went like, oh, Indiana, Toronto, who would be next? The Hawks or, whichever other
or the Celtics with like Isaiah Thomas, So, and then of course, so that you're right. They're all MVP caliber guys. And then the cherry on top, if they do make it to the finals, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the MVP, probably back-to-back MVP and Defensive Player of the Year, and his team, the Bucks, who have put up some historical numbers this season. And this leads me to my point we're going to get into our brackets later, but I do not think the Lakers, as much as it pains me to say because I love LeBron, I do not think they're going to win the championship this season. I think since we've seen them in the bubble, their depth has looked a lot worse, and they've become increasingly dependent on guys like Kyle Kuzma, Alex Caruso, and Quinn Cook. And I know in our pre-bubble episode, I was talking about how Davis is the X factor for this team, and if Davis just goes off, then like the NBA probably won't have an answer for him. But now I'm starting to think, even if Davis and LeBron, I mean, I guess if they both are just, playing at an extremely high level, then it'll be hard to beat that team. But I still think like the X factor is going to be the bench, because the bench players, they're going to need some production from those guys. And right now they're looking a little thin.